All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in and for signing on. I know we do this show. We've got a lot of viewers and listeners online for this particular segment with John Fuller. This is the show called Legally Yours. John Fuller is your host. He's an attorney at his own law firm, which is called Fuller & Fuller, appropriately enough, because the other partner is his wife, Janet Fuller, and she's not here today, but John did bring a guest. Bob Lindaberry is here, and I'll let him introduce Bob. The phone number right now to call John is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline, the 622-9622. We want to hear from you if you have a question about the law, especially as it applies to you, as opposed to David Petraeus. So we'll kind of use him as a marking time.
That would be a 2-hour show right there.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Larry. How are you? And thank you. It's nice to be here. Yesterday, or last week, my schedule prevented me from being here, so it's always nice to be back. And it is kind of a special day, and I wanted to do a couple of things, if I may, as we start out. Last weekend was Veterans Day, and I want to take this time before we start anything about the law to say a special thank you to anyone who has served our country in the armed forces at any time, currently or previously. Our whole system of government, and most certainly our system of laws, depend upon the ability to operate in a free society. And we want to say from all the members of Fuller & Fuller our sincere appreciation for the sacrifices that the young men and women of our country are making now, and all of the veterans from all of the wars who have served our country. Every time I go into a courtroom and see our legal system at work, which is a part of our government, the freedoms that we enjoy, the protections guaranteed to us under the Bill of Rights of our Constitution, none of that would exist if it were not for the sacrifice of the veterans. I'm reminded of a quotation by Winston Churchill that I really, really love, and we'll get to the calls in just a minute, but I want to complete this point. Churchill said that of all the virtues mankind has, courage is the most important, because without courage, all other virtues are at risk to be taken away.
There you go.
And that is our way of saying thank you to our veterans. I'm also very happy to have a guest today. It is Janet's father, my father-in-law, Bob Lindaberry from Naples, Florida. Bob was, before moving to Florida in the early 50s, was a Canadian citizen and served in the Canadian Air Force during World War II. And he's radio buff and has enjoyed your show, not just this show, your show.
Well, nice.
And so, Bob, we're happy to have you here with us today, and we'll have you chime in at any time you think you'd like to say something. You just give me a heads up and be a part of the show.
There you go. And is Bob a lawyer? Are you an attorney as well?
No, Bob is a retired. He's a small business owner in Naples. He has a degree in agriculture and horticulture.
And actually in dairy science, but I switched over to horticulture many years ago and was a sales representative for a company called Roman Haas out of Philadelphia in the Fort Myers area, and more actually in Immokalee area. And then we went from there to Naples and opened a garden center. That's where I retired.
For over 50 years, Bob and his family, his son, operated a lawn and garden center in Naples. And if you've ever been to Naples, Florida, you can drive down almost any road and see multi-million-dollar homes that are 20, 25,000 square feet homes. And many of the shrubs and landscaping that you see in those multi-million-dollar homes in Naples, Florida, came from Bob's nursery. That was long before the days of the big box stores customers, and it was and not only that, but he gave the ability to look after his customers if they had something wrong with their plants. Bob was able to diagnose it and provide the appropriate fertilizer or insecticide or fungicide, and he was kind of the man to go to for landscaping your home in Naples, Florida. And then after he retired from that, he said he had a career that he enjoyed the most. He taught at the community college down there in their vocational program, agriculture and horticulture and that sort of thing. So Bob is a well-versed person when it comes to plants. I am the black sheep in the family because I can't grow anything. Bob takes a look at my efforts with a yard and just shakes his head.
Oh no!
But anyway,
so he left a mark literally on the town of Naples.
He did indeed, in more ways than one. Naples was a very small town, and one of the things that allowed it to grow and thrive into the very wealthy resort area that it is now is that they were able to get control of their mosquito problem. And Bob served on the mosquito control board.
Yeah.
No, and he served on the mosquito control board of the city of Naples for many, many years, buying surplus DC-3 airplanes and equipping them with appropriate tanks to spray, so that people who built these multi-million-dollar homes could enjoy living in Naples without succumbing to what some people have called the national bird of the state of Florida, the mosquito.
Yeah, really. And did you want to brag about your son real quick before we go to?
Well, this is kind of a personal touch day. Our son Kevin, who is a senior at Trinity Catholic High School, we are very proud to announce that today is the first day of early signing for national letters of intent to colleges throughout the country. Kevin has received a scholarship offer. He actually received a scholarship offer last February to become an officer and a gentleman at the Naval Academy and to play baseball for the Naval Academy. He received a few other offers, and he is signing his national letter of intent to play baseball for Florida Southern University in Lakeland, Florida, which makes us happy because it's close to home and we'll get to see him play for the next 4 years.
Right. Okay, you ready to go to the phones?
Absolutely. Hope we haven't held up anybody too much. We thank everybody for their patience.
Let's see if we've scared them away. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for waiting, by the way.
Good morning.
Hey there, how are you? And I apologize if I kept you waiting,
it was interesting.
But I thought there were a couple of things that were noteworthy. Certainly our acknowledgement of the veterans was something I wanted to do as soon as we started the show today, because I wasn't here last week. But it's great to hear you. Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
What's your issue?
And that was kind of neat listening to, because my sister's retired military, 32 years, and she's going to her local community college for horticultural.
Well, bless her heart.
So somebody like your father-in-law is teaching her.
That kind of ties everything in.
Yeah.
My own father was a combat veteran of World War I, and he celebrated Veterans Day, which he called Armistice Day, because he was actually in the trenches in France waiting to go over the top into no man's land the day of November the 11th, when they had a stand down to wait till 11 a.m. to see if the ceasefire would be signed. And he felt like that the signing and the timing probably saved his life. So we celebrated this holiday at our home from the time I was born.
Wow.
It was like Memorial Day, the 4th of July, all rolled into one.
Hey, our family history isn't that as interesting as that, but my sister was one of the first women to ever go on a ship.
Wow,
I think there was like 16 of them or so that went out, and her ship was the first ship, and she was one of those first pioneers.
That is really amazing. Thank your sister for her service on behalf of all the members of our law firm.
Yeah, she was married like within 6 months too.
Well, that's great.
You married a sailor. No. But I was calling because I hear these advertisings. I see them for like prepaid legal, and our company at work is selling, through like your benefits, is selling these prepaid legal plans. I was wondering how those different from your standard, going to your local attorney's office.
That's a very, very good question.
I'm going to hang up and I guess I'll listen.
Okay, great. Thank you for
welcome.
calling. That is a very, very good question. Like most plans, they are based upon a contract, just like insurance policies are based upon a contract. And you can purchase different health insurance plans, and some plans will cover certain services. Some plans will pay a minimum amount or a greater amount. So each plan of these legal services, you would have to look carefully at the document of that specific plan to see what services they provide. I am not familiar with the details of any individual plan. From time to time, we have been approached to see if we would accept those types of benefits. And the ones that we've looked into generally focus into areas of the law that we don't practice.
Oh, okay.
Most of the plans. Now, there may be other plans out there that are different, and like I say, I don't know, and each plan is different, and the answer depends upon what is in your individual plan that you either purchase individually or that may be available through some type of a group plan with your employer. Generally, the ones that we have seen focus on the more administrative or ministerial type work in the practice of law. In other words, if you want to have a basic will done, they will pay a certain amount of money for a lawyer to prepare a basic will. If you want a will and trust done, or you need a will and trust done, they have a different schedule that they will pay on that. If you have a basic real estate transaction, they will pay so much on that. They will pay X amount of dollars for a 1-hour consultation to talk about an issue such as maybe a divorce. What we have found in the work that we do is that, first of all, that doesn't apply at all to the type of work my wife, Janet Fuller, who's my partner, who specializes in Social Security disability work. It doesn't apply at all to that, because in Social Security disability work, if you have a case and she's representing you, if she doesn't recover disability payments for you, you don't owe her anything, and she doesn't get paid. And if she wins your case, then she gets paid based upon the payment schedule established in the Social Security Administrative Code. So that would not apply to her practice.
Yeah, right. I can see that.
So, and in certain aspects of my practice, for those clients of ours and for our listeners who might be injured in an automobile wreck or have some type of injury from a trip and fall or any other type of negligence where they're injured and have a lawsuit, we handle those cases on a contingency fee contract basis, which generally provides that if we don't make a recovery for you, you don't owe us anything. And if we do make a recovery, then we get paid a percentage of what we recover. So, again, it's a type of insurance plan for legal services that is helpful in certain aspects of the law where the work is fairly predictable. In other words, it will take X amount of time to prepare a simple will. It'll take X amount of time to prepare a complex will, and it'll pay a certain portion of that bill for a lawyer who does that to do those services. As I've said many times on the air, that is an area that we don't specialize in. We specialize in civil trial practice, personal injury, wrongful death, automobile accident cases, trip and fall, those types of things, and business and commercial litigation. So you have to look at the plan. I'm sure that they can be beneficial, but you need to read the fine print very carefully.
And it sounds like you also need to pay attention to who is on the list. It's kind of like an HMO. You got to know who's on the list, right?
I would think so, yes.
Because you might have. I mean, if somebody wanted you as an attorney and their prepaid plan you weren't part of it,
yes.
They would be out of luck.
I think that's a reasonable assumption.
We have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with John Fuller.
Yes, please. I'd like to know I fell in a parking lot, and I had a attorney. I took the case for over a year, and I never heard from them. And then they send me all the papers, whatever it is, and that's it. So I'd like to know, what do you do about something like that?
Well, gosh, I'm not real sure I have a full understanding of what your question was or what happened. My impression from what you said, as best I could understand it, was that you were represented by an attorney. They were handling your case for a period of time of approximately a year, and then you got a letter from the attorney and they sent you some papers.
No, they didn't even send me a letter. They just sent the papers. That's it.
Well, I know nothing about the nature of the case or what the papers were, so I'm sorry, but I'm at a complete loss to comment on what your question is. I have no way of understanding what papers they sent you.
Well, they started to do some kind of, I guess, to get information. And that's it. That's the only thing they send me, the information of whoever owns the parking and how that goes by. That's the only thing. But I never heard from them all the time.
Well,
when I called, they never called back. And that's the story. So they say you go to doctors and do this and do this. They make me spend money and that's it. I don't hear from them.
Well, my recommendation to anyone who is having what sounds like a communication problem with their lawyer, or with any professional for that matter, whether it's your accountant or your physician, or an engineer who might be working for you on a development or what have you, I think that there is no substitute for sitting down and having a conference. So what I encourage you to do, and what I tell everyone who tells me, look, I'm having problems with my lawyer, we're not communicating well, I don't understand what he's doing, I'm having difficulty getting to him on the phone, it is my recommendation that you call his office, you make an appointment for a face-to-face office conference, and you sit down and you might write out ahead of time a list of the questions that you have so you don't forget to cover anything, and sit down and ask him all the questions, ask him to explain the paperwork or whatever it may be, and see if you can't work out your differences in that regard. If it comes to a point where you are not satisfied after having done that, then your next choice would be to seek out another lawyer. So hopefully that'll help you. Go talk with him.
But the other lawyers don't want to take the case because when I mentioned that I had this lawyer, then they changed their mind.
Well, there are rules regulating what lawyers can do, and if you are currently represented by a lawyer, other lawyers are not allowed to discuss the details of your case with you as long as you have an active lawyer working for you. So you need to go talk to your lawyer. You need to try to work out your differences. If you can't do that to your satisfaction, then you would need to terminate that relationship before you'd be able to go consult with another lawyer.
Well, it's terminate, I guess.
Yes. Well, I think you ought to go talk with them and get the answer directly and have a clear understanding of where you are, what's the situation with your case, and hopefully that'll get you the answers that you need. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds like the need to sit with somebody is probably the solution.
The one thing that is so important, and we all try to do the best we can, and sometimes we don't always do it as quickly as we would like to or as our clients would like to. Communication is very important. There are times when lawyers are in court or in depositions or out of the office and cannot return calls as promptly as they would like to. Hopefully staff can help to some extent to get the information. Lawyers, staff members cannot practice law unless they're licensed attorneys, so they can't, certainly not in our firm, give legal advice over the phone, but they can certainly act as a good liaison to gather information and to help facilitate communication. Communication is really important, and it's something that I need to work on every day, and there's always room for improvement because none of us are perfect. But I think that if you ask any lawyer where the biggest problems arise in relationships with their clients is in keeping the lines of communication open. And one thing, I was talking to my paralegal who has been with me, Brenda, for 31 years.
Oh, wow.
We've worked together, and she's a wonderful part of our team, and an essential part of our team, as are all of our staff. We live in an age now, Larry, that is so different than when we started practicing law over 30 years ago. We used to have to deal with the telephone and the mail. Now we have text messages, we have email messages, we have fax messages, we have the telephone, we have hand-delivered messages, and it consumes a large amount of time. And one thing that I try to caution clients with, and is that the lawyer doesn't, it's not that the lawyer doesn't want to hear from you or to communicate with you, but if you're someone who's sitting home with a lot of time on your hands and you send 10 or 15 emails every day to your lawyer, you can end up burning a lot of time and running into a lot of expense. So I suggest to people, like I just suggested to the lady who called, is when you have questions, get them organized so that you can have a productive conference, whether it's a telephone conference or an exchange of emails. But just sending a constant stream of emails every time you think of something, remember, it takes the time for someone in the office to read that email, analyze it, review the file, and respond. And you have to be very careful that you have good time management, because we want to give good legal services and be responsive, but we want to do it in a cost-efficient manner. So if the questions become repetitive or if they are irrelevant to the issue, sometimes it's good for the lawyer to speak candidly with the client. Doesn't mean that they're mad or that they're being disrespectful, and just say, look, we need to stay focused on our course of action here.
The conversation you just had with your last caller prompted one question from me.
Yes.
It sounded like if you have employed an attorney or hired an attorney for a case, that you have to dismiss him or her before you get another one.
That is usually correct, yes. Sometimes you can tell your lawyer you are dissatisfied and you want to change lawyers and who you want to go to, and they will coordinate simply a stipulation for substitution. That happens a lot. It's picking a lawyer and having a good lawyer-client relationship is a delicate thing. There are many, many good lawyers, and for whatever reason, be it personality or style or communication, they may not be the suitable lawyer for a particular individual in a particular case. And that's not a criticism or a reflection on either the client or the lawyer. And so if you pick a lawyer, you need to first go talk to that lawyer, research that lawyer, find out what his or her educational background is, their experience level, whether or not they're board certified. The Florida Bar now has board certification, like doctors do in various specialized area, and it requires a lawyer who's board certified to pass a rigorous all-day test, to have practiced law 5 years, to have tried a minimum of 15 jury trials, to have over 50 hours of continuing education every 5 years, and to have recommendations of judges and lawyers who you have tried cases with and against to provide information to the Florida Bar before they would certify you. And we're proud in our law firm. We have 4 different certifications in civil trial practice and in business and commercial litigation by the Florida Bar and by the National Board of Trial Advocates. So that's something to look for in selecting a lawyer.
We are just about out of time. If you would like to speak to John at his office, John, what is your phone number?
Our office number here in Ocala is 352-547-4292. We have a toll-free number, which is 855-534-2565, and we have offices in the Villages as well as in Ocala. If you have a legal problem, please give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk with you, and if it's in an area we practice in that we can help you, we'll schedule you an appointment. Again, I'd like to thank my father-in-law, Bob Lindaberry, for taking the time to join us and be a part of the show, and thank you, Larry, for letting us be here.
No, thank you, and nice to meet you, Bob. Thank you for coming in. Call us if you need any of John's information repeated over the phone. We'll be able to do that for you, or if you can go online, go to WOCA.com, go to the AM Ocala Live listing, and on Wednesday, November 14th, in fact, every Wednesday, you'll see John's name and phone number at the 10:35 slot. We'll take a little break and be right back.
Thank you.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala. The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Where in Florida? Times of clouds and sun today. There can be a passing shower, the high 76 to 80. Partly to mostly cloudy tonight with a shower around early.